Hi, my name's Kelly. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about self-love, the hardest thing to do. And why? Because we're human. So let me explain. The human experience has challenged us in so many ways that we're finding it very difficult to feel worthy of this world. Now, we may not show that, we may not feel it on a conscious level, on an unconscious level, all of these challenges show up within us through thoughts, emotions, feelings, and many fears. And these fears come from feelings of unworthiness. So, how is the world challenging us? The world is filled with judgment. The world is filled with rejection. And every time we feel judged, every time we feel rejected, we are questioning our lovability. So if we're being told to just love ourselves, but yet we have years and years and years of conditioning from other people, from our environment that have challenged us and caused us to question who we are we good enough? Does the world accept us the way we are? We are not really in a place of self-love. We're in a place of questioning if we are lovable. But that's not happening on a conscious level. It's happening on an unconscious level. So we've all been rejected. We all go through judgment. And people that are constantly judging now others are in a place of self-judgment. And you may have heard this before. What does that really mean? It means that if you truly love yourself, if you're really content in who you are, and you really believe you're a divine being, then you have to believe that about other people too. If you believe that you're allowed to make mistakes and still love yourself, you have to believe that about other people too. If you don't believe it about them, then you don't believe it about yourself. So if you're judging others, you're judging yourself, okay? So why is it so difficult to love ourselves? Because of years and years of years of growing up in a world that has challenged us. How has it challenged us? From the time we were small, okay, we didn't understand who we were in the world. So we had to look to what? The people that cared about us, that were raising us, that were teaching us who we are. We wanted them to help us identify ourselves. So we listened very carefully. We watched very carefully what they said to us, how they treated us, and how they acted around us. And that's how we learned about ourselves. But was it truly about who we are? No, because what we were really experiencing is who they believe they are. But as children, we don't understand that. So when other people are filled with self-judgment, fear of rejection, not loving themselves, feeling unworthy, and they're the ones that are teaching you. They're teaching you from that place within them where they feel unworthy. And basically that's the way they're navigating life, right? So on a conscious level, okay, on a conscious level, which is only part of our mind, a small part of our minds, we act like we know who we are, what we're doing, and we're in full acceptance of who we are. Perfect. But on an unconscious level, there's a lot going on. There's all kinds of feelings and fears within us that we have suppressed and repressed from years and years and years of feeling judged and rejected. We put these parts of us deep within our consciousness so we don't have to deal with them because we don't want to feel that way. We want to know we're lovable, because if we don't feel lovable, what happens is we start to fear more rejection, right? More fear, more feelings of unworthiness, and we even have a fear of surviving in the world on a very deep unconscious level, because we don't believe we can survive if we're not acceptable to the world. These parts of us are suppressed within us. They're from childhood. We didn't have the coping mechanisms to deal with the pain of being a disappointment, feeling ashamed of who we are, not feeling worthy of our parents' love, not feeling worthy of a sibling's love, not feeling like we belong in that family, feeling rejected by others. It happens. And then what happens when we get older, we go on a job interview, we're rejected, we go right back to that same sorrow feeling of something's wrong with me, because it's really triggering times when we were younger, when we felt like we weren't good enough. So self-love, really truly honoring who you are as a divine being on this physical journey, is a process. We're on a journey to learn this. So expecting yourself to just drop into self-love after all these years of conditioning and believing false beliefs, all of these deep inner flaws we believe we have, right? How can we possibly really, truly, honestly love ourselves? But here's the thing. We just have to know that we're on a journey to learn how to love ourselves and to forgive ourselves every time we forget that this is truly a journey and we're learning how to love ourselves, because there's always going to be mistakes made. We make them all the time. But if we keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over again, we're not learning from it, okay? We're not really stepping higher into or more toward that full authentic self-love. We're getting stagnant, we're getting stuck, we keep repeating, we're on a cycle. So this journey is about breaking those cycles that are detrimental to our well-being on any level, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, or spiritual, right? So when we make a mistake, we have to learn from it, break the cycle, move on. That's learning how to love yourself. You don't go from all of this stuff growing up of trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what makes you acceptable. You're supposed to be in a place, right, of where you truly accept yourself no matter what. It's a very difficult place to get when you had years and years and years and years of believing that you had to look outside of you, get validation from others in order for you to feel worthy of the world. That's normal. That's a human experience, because as children, we had to look outside of ourselves because we couldn't take care of ourselves. So we were looking to others to show us who we are. And we believed them when they were really just projecting their own internal fears of non-love onto us. So we have to understand that everybody's on a journey. And we're all learning how to get to that place where we truly love ourselves. And what we mean by that, it's not in any conceited way. It's about full acceptance of our divine self during this human experience. It's about growth and evolution. It's not about, hey, I love me and that's all there is to it because I look good, I feel good, and it's all on a conscious level. True, authentic self-love is learning how to identify negative cycles that you get entwined with and how to break them. And then each time you do that, you're stepping closer and closer to that authentic self-love. Authentic self-love just means that you realize who you are as a spiritual being on this physical journey, that you're here to learn, and that you truly accept yourself, even with all the mistakes you made. You have truly forgiven yourself. Loving yourself means validating yourself. No matter what you look like, no matter what you're going through, no matter what your past is, and no matter where you are right now, love yourself and say, I'm working on true, authentic self-love. And the way you're doing that is by looking into where you've been triggered, where you keep getting triggered, the cycles you keep getting yourself into, and learn how to break out of cycles that are not in your highest good, right? So when you start closing out old cycles and you start learning from these mistakes and you start doing better, you feel better about yourself. And then you start to move toward more self-love. Now, also remember, everybody's on this journey together. So if somebody is reactive towards you, somebody's not treating you kind, they're in a place of not loving themselves. So don't personalize it, right? Just realize that they're on the journey to learn this. So what they need from you at that point really is kindness and compassion. And if they're really in a place where they're not learning it and they've become too much for your energy to handle because you're trying to move on with your journey, you're trying to be in a place of self-love, you're trying to be as compassionate, lovable as possible, but they're just not allowing you to be that person because they keep trying to throw their energy towards you, that's in a low vibration, then maybe you need to step away, because also what's important on this journey is self-respect, right? The way you get to self-love is having that self-respect, having boundaries, and to understand that we're on this journey, but there's going to be other people that we may be interacting with that pull us away from that. And if they pull us away from self-love, it means we weren't validating ourselves in that moment, right? So that's where we have to look at ourselves. If we are in a place of self-love, we wouldn't really be drawing all of that negative energy toward us, but we could come across people that we're trying to have a relationship with, whether it be a friendship, whether it be a teacher-student relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it's a family relationship. People trigger us. When they trigger us, we have to look inside and see where we're not loving ourselves. If they're not triggering us, but we have to be in their environment, we have to find a way to stay in a place of compassion for them. And the way to do that is to have that self-compassion, to know you're on a journey, they're on a journey, we're all here to learn. But if they're too much for your energy, you're going to have to try to minimize your physical time together and send them compassion and love from a distance. So self-love is not about just fully stepping into it and saying, oh, this is who I am. I'm a spiritual being in a physical body. And I read all these memes on Facebook and I'm told to love myself. So that's what I'm going to do. We can't pretend to do it. Okay. But we can fake it till we make it, as they say, which means we don't have to tell everybody how we're feeling or what's going on inside of us, but we need to be aware of it. And when you're aware of where you think you're flawed because of something that happened in the past, work on those parts of you because you're not flawed. Nobody's flawed, but people are making mistakes. People are getting caught up in negative cycles. People are not loving themselves. People feel inherently flawed. So they may project that onto you. They may be living in fear of rejection, fear of not being loved, fear of not being wanted. We all have that on some level because we're on a journey to learn that we are perfect the way we are. But that's a lot to learn after going through all these years of questioning if we're lovable. So to just flip that because all of these memes come out is not really self-love. What these memes are really saying are, you are lovable, you are perfect the way you are, but you're on a journey and you have to learn this at your own pace. So that's what really self-love is about. It's about allowing yourself to learn it by looking at where life is getting uncomfortable for you. If you're having trouble with a loved one, are you being triggered? Are you projecting? If you're having trouble in your romantic relationship, are you giving too much? Are you not giving enough? Are you loving yourself? Are you loving them? I mean, really loving, okay? Seeing that they're trying their best. If you don't think they're trying their best, can you have that conversation with them? Or are you in fear of rejection, right? It's all part of the learning process. There's a lot of relationships. There's business relationships, personal relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships. All of them are very important in our lives. But remember, we have, not only are we interacting on a physical level, we're interacting on an energetic level, on an emotional level, on a mental level. We're interacting on so many different levels, and we're all different in those levels. We're all still learning. So if we really want to look at self-love, it means really looking at yourself and not projecting your stuff onto other people, but healing what needs to be healed, stepping more and closer into that power within you, which is just your spirit. That's your power. It's knowing that you're perfect. You're a perfect spirit, but you're having a human experience that is quite challenging. And it's more challenging for some than others. Have compassion. Have enough self-love that you project love onto others that are having more challenges than you. That's what love is. And self-love is knowing not only that you're worthy, but it's projecting that out into others, knowing they're worthy too. So if we want to have a more peaceful world, it all starts with self-love. So we stop projecting, stop hiding, stop shutting ourselves down, stop living in fear, stop judging ourselves and others, and having more compassion. That's how you change the world. That all stems from self-love. Okay. So signing off, wanted to say have a blessed day and love yourself. Be well.